Hey there, Mike in Detroit. How you doing? Hopefully everybody's doing well. Quick video today to throw my hat in the ring and load my 2 cents in regarding talk music. What to do, maybe more what not to do. When you're in a church situation, maybe somebody's reading the announcements, or in other words, you pretty much know if you clicked on this video the situation that you're in that requires talk music. Um, I think today, more than show you what to play, because what I'm going to show you is pretty simple. It'll probably take me all of 2 minutes to show you that. I just want to have a conversation of how to approach it, your mindset, your maybe a little bit more of what not to do when you're in that situation. I mean, I have seen it countless times. Sure, you have to. It doesn't have to be the piano player. Could be the guitarist. Could be the drummer. Somebody decides they want to show how well they can play, and so you'll hear things like, and I'm here to tell you today that's exactly what you do not want to be doing in a talk situation. In those situations, nobody cares how well you can play, how long you've been playing, you the next, whatever. And it doesn't matter. I'm talking to you drummers, I'm talking to you guitar players, I'm talking to pianists, organists. You want to get the attention off of you and onto the subject matter of who's talking and whatever it is they're talking about. Your job clearly is support. Support, support, support. Um, get the attention off of you. So we're going to work here in the key of D flat, and I'm going to give you a simple chord progression that you can play. What doesn't matter if you're a beginner, intermediate, best player in the world. Doesn't matter if you're Oscar Peterson. If you're Oscar Peterson, even he should be playing something like this. Um, so the first thing is, well, we're in the key of D flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1 again. And you know, other videos will get into the diatonic harmony of that. So we're going to be playing a 2 chord to a 3 chord to a 4 chord to a 6 chord, and we're just going to loop that. Going to loop that. So that's our chord progression. You could have picked another one, but that's what we're going to use today. You could have picked a fragment of a song to play, or some. I'm kind of like playing talk music, and I'm talking, so that's a good kind of an example of it. That since I'm talking and I'm playing, and now I'm accompanying my own self, and anyway, you could have picked a fragment of a song. You could have picked it. So I picked this 2 chord and 3 to the 4 chord to the 6 chord. I'm going to play that a few times because I want you to notice how delicious that is as a bed, as a support. So you notice how sparsely, how few notes I'm playing. So that is an E minor because we're in the key of D flat. Then we're going to move this note here over, and we're going to put it right back where it was. And now we're going to move this note down here, and then this note over here, and we're going to play this 6th chord, B flat minor. So you got the progression? One more time. So anybody can talk over that. Anybody can talk over that. Now I want you to notice a couple things about what I'm doing so you can replicate that. Notice I keep that D flat the whole time. I keep that. Let me play it again. Watch this D flat chord. It just stays. Every other things are moving, but that note anchors the. So that's the first thing to notice. Now, why does that matter? Because that grounds you. That the listener, it's almost like a pad almost, because that listener can anchor on that. And now the listener's mind, whether they're conscious of it or not, they can say, oh, I got that. I can now turn my attention to whatever's being spoken. I don't have to pay too much attention to what's going on musically. Excuse me. That's what this D flat is doing. It's anchoring this progression. Because most listeners' mind will listen to the highest note, the melody. Excuse me. Now I just amped it up a little bit. See how I just, okay, so the first time I played it like this. Now I'm going to bounce on that D flat up here every time I change the chord, and that amps it up a little bit. So let me pause here. When do I amp up? When do I get quiet? When do I? So how do you know which one to play? Well, in order to support, you really have to be listening. There is an art to this talk. You don't just sit there and just play what you want to play. Remember, you're following the speaker, not the other way around. You really are. And so you have to really be listening to what's being said. You have to, so let's say like a good speaker, they're going to start off like a little roller coaster. They're going to start off a little slow, so you go here. They might be saying hello, they might be greeting people, they might be giving gratitude for the ability to speak. Get out of the way. Now you hear them getting into maybe the meat of their message, or so you want to support that. So you want just a little bit something different. So now I'm going to bounce that D flat. Now as soon as you do that, you're going to bring attention to you. So don't bounce it too hard. Maybe a little bounce, baby bounce, little ball bounce, like that. So if you can read the chapters of what the spoken word is, you can know how to adjust a little bit to that. Most speeches, most talk goes in these little chapters. Maybe it gets a little bit more exciting. Maybe now you hear audience starting to participate. See, I just added a little bit more. I clearly got off this D flat and I went to a different melody, I am clearly responding to or supporting. Maybe I hear the audience amen and okay, now it's starting to settle back down. So I'll go back to where I was. Now listen to that arpeggio I just did. See, when I first started off, I did not do that. When I first started off, I just did this. But as it got a little bit more exciting, maybe I was trying to wind it back down. Now I did more arpeggios. Now notice I have a pad or some strings under my keyboard. That always helps. That, people sort of expect that. If you have your keyboard, push a couple buttons on there, and you can get that same effect, or a pad or something that gives you that effect. So know when to ramp it up and when to wind it back down, and that means remember that you're following the speaker. The last thing you want to do is get a glance from the speaker that says we're in a fight here. Your job is to make that speaker's message heard, to make that speaker sound good. Now you can use all kind of progressions to do talk music. I just used the 2, 3, 4, 6. It's a good one. It's a good one. Still these voicings, and soft and sparse is your friend. So on a 2, to a 3, to a 4, 6. So another thing that works for me is to get in the cracks. When do I change chords? So let me see. So I play this, and somebody's talking. I'm gonna hold that chord. Until I hear a crack. And what I mean by crack is I hear a pause in what they're saying. So they're saying welcome and everybody, I'm glad to be here and it's a pleasure to be here. Pastor, thank you for inviting me. And as soon as you hear that me, you've heard a crack. It is, we flew in from the airport and the airport was crowded and so you hear a or a me or a crack and so you want to get in those cracks even though you're not playing to any particular rhythm. So I can hold this chord as long as I want. Until if I hold it too long, now the attention's going to come to me. So you don't want to have the speaker on a leash dragging that speaker around. You want to be listening to what they have to say. Now sometimes speakers do speak in a cadence. I tend to do that. There's a rhythm to how I speak. So if you're accompanying me and you hear me speak, there's a rhythm to it. There's a cadence to it. The way I speak, I probably am not that aware of it because I hear myself all the time. But I speak relatively at a pretty good clip. So as the talk music accompanist, you want to be aware of that. Maybe you change chords a little bit more often. Maybe it is a weepy kind of talk. Something sad has just went down, and somebody really pauses, and it causes the audience to maybe get a little weepy. Now, you hear that and you think it's excitement, so you start going. you just blew the mood. You just blew the mood. You just because once again, if the audience wants to weep, then let them weep. Just let them. Just stay right here. Actually, in talk music, to my mind, less is more. If they wanna say hallelujah or amen, or they just get into this. Now, what chord is this? It's a minor chord, right? So if I hear weepy, I know minor chords support that. So I might stay here. What chord is this? It's the 3 chord. These are minor chords. They're weepy chords all by themselves. Maybe I'll go back. Maybe I'll go 2, 3, 2, 3. Because I hear weeping going on. I hear sadness going on. So I am following the mood rather than make the mood follow me. Okay, well, what chord is this? That's a major chord. That's a happier sound. That's a triumphant sound. So why does this little chord progression work? Because we got sad or solemn, however you want to say it. We got another sad. And then we got escape. We got triumph. And we got a setup chord. So, how busy you are, how sparse you are, how loud you are, how soft you are, all of that. There's an art to this. There's the little nuances that means that I am doing my best to pay attention to what's going on around me, and then adjust to that rather than the other way around. So, a couple of little rules you can go by, and then you kind of cook it up the way you want to cook it up, like a master chef, that you want whatever the message of the talk is to get through. That's your job. So, all kind of ways to play a 2 chord. You can play it up here, but now you notice I have more notes, more dents, more attention on me. The higher I play on the keyboard, the more attention I'm going to bring to me. That's why down here works. You can hear me, but you don't hear me, if that makes some sense. You can bounce. You can arpeggiate. You got a lot of tools in your pocket that you can pull out or put away. But when I listen to talk music and I'm sitting in the 4th pew, I'm thinking, I need to make this video. I really do. I know this is more philosophy than music lesson. I could have taught you those 3, 4 chords in a couple of minutes, but I'm trying to impress on you the art of accompanying. Anyway, I want you to do me a favor and drop it in the comments. What you've heard, particularly, here's a situation, altar call, clearly a talk music situation. Okay, so altar call is different than the announcements. Now, some churches have a song prepared for come to Jesus, come to Jesus. They have a song. But let's say you're at a church and there's no song. The pastor is just calling for converts. The sermon is over. There's no song. You're sitting at your keyboards. You got to come up with something. This is a good progression for it. So the pastor clearly wants the attention on him, I guess, or her. And they're trying to call people to the altar. You got to support that. What do? You really have to be not only a good player, but a good listener. Because the mood is going to swing. Just still thinking that 2, 3, 4, 6 progression. Now I'm bringing a lot of attention to myself now because A, I'm playing more notes. I moved up higher on the keyboard, and the only way I would play like this is, somebody's in a frenzy. So pull out these kinds of voicings when there's hoopla going on, when there's tissue out, when there's maybe you were down here and they announced the name. Okay, Sister So and So has come back after 20 years away from church, and everybody goes, wow, hands are clapping. Okay, so now if I hear that. I want to support that. Now here's another 2 chord. See, I'm getting very dramatic now. See, I'm trying to match the mood that I'm hearing around me. In other words, your head's got to be on a swivel here. Last bit of that is the same progression. That 2, 3, 4. Here's the 6. Now what winds up has to wind back down. You don't want to ever wind it up. Get up, walk away. You got to wind it back down. Even if nobody's talking. Now you got to wind this back down. Now I'm winding it down. I might end up right where I started from. Okay, hopefully that gives you some good ideas of how to, not just what to play. A lot of videos out there on what to play, but how to think about your role as an accompanist in talk music kinds of situations. Drop it in the comments. What are you experiencing out there from a musicianship standpoint when you hear talk music? And it doesn't have to be the piano player. It might be the drummer. Especially sometimes the drummer is 8 years old or 12 years old, and somebody's trying to play, and oh my goodness, I just want to go up and have a little talk with the young man. I know you're a good drummer, but you got to know your role, your place, your season, the time in the service. There's a time for that. There's a time to bump, dump. But these talk music situations can be quite delicate, and they need to be handled properly and skillfully. And I hope something I said in this video will help you do just that. Mike in Detroit, have a great day, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.